Hello,
Hello.
everyone. We're gonna wait a couple seconds here. Yeah, it does let us go live on Insta too now. I can see it.
I'm
Cool. This is all
fine.
new. This is pretty cool that we can go live on Instagram now. I'm excited.
First time for everything, right?
Right. So we just wait a couple seconds just so some people can see that we are here now. I see that Bill is here. Hey, Bill. Just watching us. Try to keep track of both screens now. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so if you see me going like this, that's because we've got a lot
That's
going on.
why, right? I'll keep an eye on my end to see if there's any questions coming in while we start going through it. But I do have two screens, so bear with me.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining in. I'm here with GJ today. We're excited to give you just a little bit of a quick update of what's going on in the market, in the real estate market right now. We're going to go over some numbers. We're also going to go over, what's going on, what we're seeing happening, both from, my
Yeah.
end as a real estate agent and his end as a lender. And then we can also talk about some strategies of things that you guys can be focusing on and also working with him in order for you to succeed on finding homes in this market right now. So that sounds about right.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we're almost through April right now, and the spring and summer market is in full swing, obviously.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we're starting to see it. I started to see it on my end for sure since probably mid-March, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Tax season is
people,
always the busy season.
right. People definitely started planning ahead, and we talk about that. The more you can plan ahead, the more you can plan to succeed in your home buying process
For
and
sure.
selling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We'll talk about both ends, both sides, so people know kind of like what to expect there. So, first, just to start off, I will give you guys a quick market update numbers wise. So for Central PA as a whole, I kind of wanted to just kind of summarize. So this is encompassing of Cumberland County, Dauphin County, Lancaster County, and York County. So this is the numbers for all the counties together. We have probably had about 1640, like 1600 properties listed in the month of March. And the median listed price was $295,000 for Central PA. We actually have currently 1.7 months of supply, which means if no more houses got into the market, we'd have just about 1.7 months worth of inventory, which it is an upgrade because last year we only had 1.1. So we're seeing more inventory coming along, despite what everybody else kind of talks about. Like, yes, there's a shortage in inventory, which because 1.7 is technically still a very, very strong seller's market, but it is getting better. There's like light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel.
Sure.
And currently we have 1.5 for the month of April so far. The average days on market is about 29 days, and that is inclusive of being on the market, getting on the contract, and closing. So that's still fairly quick, which means properties are still selling under a week if the property is a good property, right? So we're still seeing multiple offers. Yes, that's still a reality. Current inventory available as of now in Central PA for those counties is 1,861 homes, in comparison to last year where we had 1,578 about this time of the year. So we are seeing, like, again, a little bit of an increase of inventory. So that's it for numbers, because I know this bores everybody to death, but it's interesting to see it, see what's going on. It is nice to see that there's a little bit of an upgrade as far as inventory goes. I think it does. I think on my end, I can tell you that this shows because I did see a lot more buyers within the last, let's say, 4 months have the opportunity to even negotiate seller's assistance, which I think is something that was completely out of the picture for a while there. And we are seeing that coming back for some properties in some areas. I'm not going to say that that's something that's completely, back to like what it used to be in 2019, but it is becoming something that's coming back slowly. It is not completely out of the picture like it was last year, let's say. What about you? What do you have to say
Yeah.
about that?
Well, I'm licensed in all 50 states, and I see similar numbers with the inventory It's still historically low. It's just not as low as it was last year. And we're advising our buyers and our clients that it is a seller's market still, and houses are priced accordingly. And if you're
Yeah.
going for those houses that are the first week on the market, you need to prepare a strategy to probably bid over the asking price, because there's going to be multiple offers. And there's some tips and tricks that we've talked about in previous videos about how to make your offer stand out.
Yeah.
One of the strategies I wanted to talk about, and this has been, it's because it's been a seller's market for so long that, and I'm sure you can appreciate this from some of your listing consultations, that the sellers don't always listen to the realtor when it comes to what they should price their house at.
No,
They
no.
think, well,
People think that we are pricing things high intentionally. It's not just us
yeah,
deciding, right? It's that client.
yeah. And sometimes the sellers have a misconception of what their house really is worth compared to other houses that have sold recently. And they
Yeah.
factor in sentimental value, which really doesn't increase the price point.
Yeah.
So some of these houses are overpriced and are not getting offers the first weekend on the market. That can be a spot where buyers can come in and pounce on that second week. It's something that I call the 10-day
Exactly.
rule.
Yep.
Because if you're a listing agent and you have a listing that doesn't go under contract the first weekend, everybody thinks, oh my God, there's something wrong. What should we do? Should
Yeah.
we lower the price? Well, lowering the price may attract some more buyers, but it's not really a substantial savings to the buyer to lower the house price $10,000. It may only lower their payment $50 or $60 a month.
Yeah,
As a
that's a lot of people
buyer,
don't
you can,
understand that math.
yeah,
A lot of people don't. Sometimes, like and I'm glad you brought this up because
right, right,
yes, usually when I have a listing, we already have a plan of action. Like we're gonna be on the market for 2 weeks with this price. If no action or if there's not as much movement, we're gonna plan already to have a pre-scheduled decrease of 5 or whatever be within the next couple of weeks and so on. So there's always like a plan of action for that. But for the buyer side, $5,000 or $10,000, we're talking 30 to 60 bucks a month on the monthly
right.
payment for their mortgage because we're stretching that for 30 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of people
The only
think,
thing that might do is come into their search. If they were
yeah,
searching at a certain price point and now we're below it, it might pop up. But the
exactly. Yeah.
strategy is we can work with them to do something called a buy down, where we can use that seller assist, which is probably going to be less than the price reduction, to buy
Yeah.
down the rate for the buyer. In this market, they could get an interest rate that's 2% below current market conditions and could save them
Yeah.
$300 or $400 a month on their payment. That's substantial, and that's good negotiation.
Correct. Yeah. And to kind of like break it down a little further for people that don't know what that 2-in-1 buy down really is. I think we had an episode about this before, but 2-in-1 buy down is basically what kind of like what it sounds is you have a 2% reduction on your interest rate. And that's like a substantial reduction. When you're talking 2% interest rate, you're looking at what would you say, $200 to $300? It's
Yeah, depending on the loan amount, it can be substantial.
yeah, it can be a pretty big amount. And then that would be for the first year. And then the second year of that mortgage, you have 1%, and then
Mhm.
eventually goes back to normal. But during that time, the expectation is that the interest rates maybe would drop, and then you can try to refinance at that point. And then the buy down that you did, if you do the refinance before that's fully fulfilled, you would have that credit goes towards your principal. Isn't that correct?
Boom.
You correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
You must have been a loan officer in a previous life. You got that pretty good.
But yeah, that's kind of like how it works, and that it is a very good way of using that potential dropping value for that property. The 10-day rule is really an effective thing. I would say even 7 days, we're already trying like, hey, this is negotiable now, because properties are. It's funny. This market is so busy that properties that sit for longer than 7 days, you're really like, okay, either there's
What's
something
wrong with
wrong
it?
or it's overpriced or it's usually overpriced or something's wrong with it. That's the
Yeah.
two biggest reasons.
Yeah, and that's when your realtor and your loan officer can work together to help you negotiate that and beat that
Mhm.
competition before they make a price reduction and put it on the market a second weekend. So, yeah, those are
Correct.
all strategies that years ago you didn't have to worry about, but now it can be the difference between getting your offer accepted or not.
Correct. And if that's even a possibility with the buy down, I mean, instead of the buy down option, you could actually negotiate seller's assistance instead. If they are planning
Yeah.
to do a reduction of 10,000, you might as well use that as a seller's assistance as well. Let's say you are okay with the interest rate as is, and you would prefer to complement your closing costs because you might be short on it. Because a lot of people, they're needing to use grants and, the first time home buyer grants that are available out there. Let's say they still short, they prefer to negotiate a seller's assistance. That would be a better option if we are finding ourselves in the situation where we can negotiate like this.
Yeah. So planning ahead and having these conversations in advance is key. The people who struggle in the home buying process are the ones that want to find the house and then figure out all the financing later.
Oh yeah, no, this has to be ahead of time. And we're
Yeah.
talking like actually sitting down, talking to a lender like GJ and getting a pre-approval, because I think it's too common, and I mean, it's just because new buyers are just so naive. It's too easy to go online and get an approval from an online bank, and they're going to call it an approval. They're going to say, hey, you qualify for $300,000. And then majority of these people are coming to me and say, hey, I have a pre-approval for 300 from, XX super fast to the sky.
No names.
Mortgage. And then, okay, got your back. So they get this pre-approvals from online companies and they come to me, I'm approved for 300. I was like, okay, so what are your monthly payments are going to be like? I don't know. What's your total cost that you need it? I don't know. They just told me I'm qualified for 300. I'm like, oh, really? How much money you have? I have $3,000 in my bank account. Well, that's not going to work. So I feel like there's a lot of misinformation, especially coming from these online companies that are too easy to apply online, and people are like, oh, I can buy a house, but they're not providing cost sheets. They're not really explaining, hey, this is how much you need. This is what your monthly payment's going to be like. So they come to us kind of thinking, oh, I can do this. And in fact, maybe they couldn't, or maybe they could do more. They just didn't know any better. So having an actual pre-approved and talking to someone like GJ is really important, because then you're understanding your financings, knowing how much it's actually going to cost you. What are the options available to you in particular, in case you do need to go and get like a grant, or, understanding if you can borrow money against your 401k if you need it, or liquidating some assets, or what kind of payments you need to make to increase your credit score. So many things go into this. And Jay can probably break it down even further for you guys on this one, but it's a lot to think about.
You mentioned something really good. Most employers will let you borrow money against your 401k if you're buying a primary resident. And that's without a penalty. And you can take it as a lump sum, or most people take it as a payroll deduction, like $50 a paycheck or something, going back towards the money that they took out of there. So that's a good way to leverage your savings without losing the tax benefits of it. So nice point.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know they can do that, and you don't get penalized if you're using 401k funds towards purchasing a home. You will if you're just borrowing for any reason, but if you're borrowing towards buying a home, you do have this one time, no penalty. You just have to understand the terms, because every 401k account will have different guidelines of how much you can take out, what the time frame is, how long it takes for you to take it, what are the requirements paperwork wise for them to actually release those funds to you. So there's different things in that sense, but you are allowed to use your 401k for buying a home without penalty. So just know that is definitely an option. Also, if you have IRAs out there, you can actually borrow against your own IRA and pay yourself back later. That's a way for you to grow your own money, but you also can use that money towards purchasing a home. So just keep that in mind if you do have a private IRA out there. TSP accounts too, for those of you that are military. That's the same thing. You can borrow against your own TSP account. It works much like an IRA, and then you pay yourself back, and you pay yourself the interest, which is the best part. So many options. You just have to talk to us, and we can, help you understand what are the options available to you.
Quick disclaimer, we are not tax professionals, so please
Oh,
contact
no.
your tax professional or your HR representative for full details before you move any money around.
Please do. Yes. We're just telling you what's out there, but you do need to do your research and talk to the right people. Please, yes. Like, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
So, did you want to talk a little bit about some of the advanced maneuver type purchasing for investment properties and self-employed
Yeah.
borrowers?
Yeah, we can go over that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to like that. You can
Yeah,
get
really
started.
cool stuff. So what we're seeing a lot of right now are non-traditional products that allow people to increase either their investment portfolio or buy houses in a non-traditional way using their bank statements and their cash flow. I'll talk a little bit about the bank statement loan first.
Mhm.
Best for self-employed buyers. As a realtor, you're basically self-employed, and I was self-employed before I got into the mortgage industry. So I know we have a lot of write-offs because we want to pay a little bit of tax. So you might
Yeah.
not necessarily show a lot of income on paper at the end of the year, but you have a lot of income each month. What we do with those people is we take their last 12 or 24 months of bank statements, we send it to our underwriter to have them review and come up with a calculation. Sometimes we look at a specific number for the expenses each month, or other times it's a fixed number like 30%. So I've been
Mhm.
able to get numerous people who couldn't qualify using their tax returns a bank statement loan where their cash flow is good, they just don't look good on paper, and they're able to purchase a house based on their cash flow. So that's for primary residences only and works great for self-employed buyers. So it's
Yeah.
something that we're seeing more and more. The biggest thing with that is you have to do the income calculation up front before you start looking at the process. And it usually takes a little
Yeah.
bit while because we're doing more of a detailed analysis over 12 or 24 months.
Yes. Yes. Again, homework, right? Just getting
Yeah.
ready before you do that. And what's the requirement? Can you tell them what's the requirement for down payment for this type of loan as well?
Yeah, with the primary residence, we can do a little bit less, like 10% down, sometimes even 5% if you have a really good credit score. It's like you have a really good credit score, you can do a little bit of money down. If your credit score
Mhm.
is a bit lower, maybe you have to put a little bit more down. But
Yeah.
it's not really for like first-time home buyers where we're talking about minimum down payments. These are self-employed buyers who have cash. So we
Yeah.
can use that money for, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% down. And the more money you put down combined with a higher credit score, you're going to get more favorable terms on the rate.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. Thanks for
Yeah.
clarifying. And then we have also the DSCR loans. Can you go over those too? Because those are pretty good products.
Yeah, so people who buy investment properties using their main income, let's just say they're good W-2 earners, depending upon how much they own, they can usually own a primary residence and maybe one or two investment properties.
Hmm.
If you start getting up into 3 or 4 or multiple investment properties, you probably don't have enough cash from your current job and those on paper to continue buying properties in a traditional way.
That's right.
DSCR means debt service credit ratio. Long story short is if the rent on the house you're buying is enough to cover the mortgage payment, you qualify. So again, the higher the credit score, the more favorable the terms. They are going to want to see 20 or 25% down on these, and that helps with the cash flow as well. But very
Hmm.
limited paperwork. Now we don't have to look at your pay stubs and W-2s from your current job. We don't have to
Yeah.
look at your schedules from all the rental properties that you own. We don't need pay stubs, mortgage statements, taxes. It's everything is related to the property that you're buying. So it streamlines the paperwork and it makes it easier to acquire more properties with a minimal investment instead of just coming in and paying all cash.
Exactly. Exactly. So, one thing that a lot of people ask me about that kind of loan is that, like, what if I don't have any investment properties yet? Could I use a DSCR loan?
So we have multiple outlets for that, and most do want to see that you have some investment property experience. However, I do have two outlets that are available even for first-time home buyers who don't have any previous housing expense. You'd have to take an investment property class, an online class. It's like a 2-hour
Mm,
class, and the terms are a little bit less favorable because there's a little bit
yeah.
more risk. But we do have options for both as well.
Awesome. No, that's good to know. And then, of course, like let's say you're a brand new investor and you don't necessarily have the big 20-25% down payment, but you're just getting started and you're young. I would say the best way to start would be to purchase a multifamily home.
Yeah,
So 1 to 4 units, buy to live in one property so you can take advantage of that primary residence loan benefit and then rent the others, right? So can you branch out on that topic a little bit too?
yeah, that is huge. And I know a lot of people who got started in their real estate investing career by buying a 2-unit, 3-unit, or a 4-unit. You can buy them with FHA, 3.5% down. And now you have income coming in to pay your mortgage. So you wind up living in one and renting out the other. So you fix up one, you live there. And then when your tenant moves out, you charge more rent for the next tenant moving into the one that you were living in. And now you go and you fix
Exactly.
up the other one. And now you can have that money for 2 years and use that rental income to help you buy another 2-unit that you can move into, or a 3-unit. So that's a great way to build your real estate portfolio. Again, once you start acquiring 2, maybe 3 properties, you're going to be maxed out on your income and have to look at other options. But it's a great way, affordable way to get into home ownership and build a real estate portfolio with multiple family units.
Exactly, exactly. So real estate is a magical thing. I feel like if you're not yet investing and you want to, and you're young, right? Because not everybody, like a family, might not want to be moving into a unit and live with other people. But if you're young and single, or maybe you and your wife or girlfriend want to get started, that would be probably the easiest, cheapest, safest way to get started investing in real estate, because you can take advantage of being, a primary buyer and use a regular loan with minimal down payment, regular interest rates. So that's a really good way to get started with this. One thing that we can also talk about that a lot of people don't understand sometimes is that, okay, so I buy this house and let's say it's a 2-unit and I live in one, rent the other. And now it's been a little while when I'm, buy my own home. How do I do that without selling? A lot of people don't understand the mechanics of it. So I'm going to start, and GJ can really help with the financing side. So basically, a lot of people think that, oh, what do I do with my mortgage? How does it work? As soon as you are able to, let's say, qualify for to purchase the new property, right? Budget wise with your income. And if you do have maybe someone lined up as a tenant for the current unit that you are living in, planning to move out, that helps you with your income, total. Um, or, or that's another option. You can use a different kind of loan strategy, like GJ said, like with the DSCR, since you already have at least one and you have some experience, maybe that could be a venue. But then people are saying, okay, so what do I do? I don't have money. What if I don't have money? Use the asset you have in hand. You are allowed to do a cash out refinance of the property you currently own and use that amount to go and pay your down payment closing costs of a new home. So can you branch out on that too? Because a lot of people don't understand the mechanics of that. And real estate is great. You do buy an asset, like you invest it. So how do you use that?
Yeah, there's a couple different options there. Let's just say that your monthly mortgage payment is $1,700 a month, and you're renting one unit for 1,700, and you're living in the other, so you're basically breaking even each month.
Mm-hmm.
You live in that property for a short period of time, and then you want to tap into the equity that's in your home. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is refinance the home to a lower rate and a lower payment on another 30-year mortgage. Let's say your monthly payment now goes down to $1,400 a month. Well, now
Yep.
you've got $300 a month positive cash flow from just the one unit. You're going to move out. You're going to rent the other unit for maybe 1,800 because that was the one you were living in and fixing up. So now you have
Correct.
serious positive cash flow that you can use to help qualify for the purchase of the other one. and you pulled some cash out, which can be used for down payment and closing costs on a new home that you're buying. So you're basically leveraging that equity.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of real estate. Using that equity that you built from the first property to now put it towards the second property. And guess what? You can continue to do that year over year. Now, one thing to keep in mind, a lot of the mortgage, the loan types that you get will require you to be in that property if it's your primary residence for at least 1 year, right, GJ?
Yeah, there is some seasoning.
Yeah. So you do have to keep that in mind. 1 year is kind of usually the cutoff. To sell, though, if you ever decide to sell real estate, I would highly recommend waiting 2 years. Otherwise, it will be taxed a very high and mean capital gains tax.
Yeah.
IRS is not very nice on those terms. So if you are able to wait 2 years before you sell any real estate, that's probably ideal. But if you are just moving to a new property to acquire secondary, investment property or primary again, you can just wait a year to do that. Another huge thing that people don't think about. So let's say later on in life, you have owned some real estate, and let's say your primary residency is now fully paid off, but you're ready to retire. You want to enjoy life. Can you tell me a little bit more? You know where I'm going with this, about the reverse mortgage option.
Yeah, we could have a whole nother show about reverse and
I know.
honestly, with the boomer generation and things like that, I think that's a good topic for us to dive into in a couple different areas. But
Yes, for sure.
reverse mortgage is really good for someone who is elderly, and their primary goal is they just want to stay in the house. Maybe they don't have a ton of income, or they need money to fix up the house or things like that. Reverse mortgage allows them to tap into the equity, either get distributions or a lump sum, and not have to make any payments on it. We're not maxing out their equity, and it's not like the bank is going to come after their house or we can take it over at any time. There's some confusion there. They're basically getting a mortgage on the property without having to make any payments. If they decide they do have to go to an assisted living or they're deceased, the house is sold by the estate and just pays off the amount that was taken. So it's an option that needs to be discussed in greater detail, but definitely something that people can use if their primary goal is they just want to stay in the house.
Yeah. And I just wanted to bring it up because a lot of people don't understand that real estate is really an amazing investment in so many different capacities. And that's one of the capacities. It can be used towards your retirement fund, per se, if that's a property that you own, you live in, you don't want to go anywhere, but you need that additional income. Maybe, you're still living on Social Security or whatever, your retirement is not that high and you want to have a little more wiggle room. That's a way to kind of benefit from your real estate investment.
I think we just stumbled onto a topic for our next call.
I know. I think we need to really branch out on that one because that one can go many different ways and it's very intricate. So we definitely should explore that one a little bit more too.
Maybe we could advertise it and have some people come into your office and go over those things face to face. You have all that new space now.
That would be great. So if anybody's interested, let us know. Send us some information.
I think we're coming up on our time limit here.
Yes, and I'm going to put our information on the bottom. So if anybody has questions or would like to further discuss any topic that we talked about today or any new topic, you can get in touch with us directly. Me and GJ's information is below. So we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. This was great. I feel like we need to do this more consistently and with more information so people, is more surrounded with good information on real estate.
Yeah, sounds good. It's always good to pick your brain and hear what's going on. You're very knowledgeable about the area and have a lot of good information. So it's my pleasure to come on and help.
Same with you. Thank you so much, GJ. And thanks so much for everybody that hopped on today. We had a lot of people that hopped on and off. So thank you for watching. And again, we're here to help you guys. So have a blessed day and I'll see you guys next time. See you, GJ.
All right, bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
Bye.